It all started with a job position from social media. It was from a glamorous-looking woman offering high-paying work for students, with flexible hours and great perks. The job description promises to pay well for someone who's eager and ready to have fun. In the city's nightlife scene, a comment section filled with enthusiastic responses from women of different backgrounds makes the job seem legitimate. And the allure of financial relief is too tempting for Thandi to ignore. She contacts the person in charge and the woman calls her for an interview. "You should wear your normal clothes that you usually wear at home. It makes us see the real you," the woman said over the phone. The woman, who introduces herself as Chantal, meets Thandi at the club that is advertising the position. Chantal appears warm, welcoming, and professional. She talks about the opportunity, a bit of dancing, a bit of hosting, just being social at exclusive events. It's great money and no one needs to know what you're really doing, she assures Thandi. Chantal promises that the work will be low risk, and Thandi is told that she can leave at any time if she's uncomfortable. The pay starts at 5,000 Rand a night, with bonuses for special clients. The next few weeks are a blur of high-end clubs, wealthy clients, and late nights. She meets a network of other women, some of whom seem more experienced than her and show her the ropes. Thandi is initially excited about the financial freedom, but she begins to feel increasingly uneasy about the nature of the work. She's told to smile, act charming, and maintain professional relationships with clients. Slowly, the line between harmless flirting and something more sinister blurs. As Thandi spends more time in the scene, she notices things she didn't before. One night, a client makes an inappropriate advance by asking Thandi to go to a hotel room, which was upstairs, and she is told it's part of the job to keep things smooth. "That's if you want to make a lot of tips in one night," the manager added. The suggestion that she might have to cross a line if a client insists becomes more frequent, and she begins to feel like she's losing control, but she would do it. So she would not lose her job. She would get not less a 1,000 per client, plus gifts from certain clients as they pop in here and there during the week. At some point she also got closer to Mr. Smith, who would give her a lot of money. This made Thandi to start getting comfortable in the industry and focused on making more money for herself. But unfortunately Mr. Smith was only in South Africa for a 3-month business trip, and after there he left and never called Thandi ever again. Now Thandi was looking for another blesser who could spoil her the same way Mr. Smith did, and she began her search among the clients who entertained themselves there at the club. She tried several of them, even tried to satisfy them sexually, but none of them were loyal to her as Mr. Smith. They would give her money, but she would sleep with at least 10 men a month repeatedly for her to make the amount of money that Mr. Smith alone used to offer her. By now, Thandi has been working in the underground circle for several months. She's grown used to the late nights and the increasingly dangerous encounters. One particular client, Mr. Mthembu, a wealthy and influential businessman in Pretoria, has become a regular. He's always kind to her, treating her with an air of respect that differentiates him from the others. He always pays her well, often sending gifts or giving her extra bonuses. At first, Thandi is flattered by his attention and generosity. Perhaps she has found herself a match for Mr. Smith, Thandi thought to herself. Mr. Mthembu, in his late 40s, is charming and polished. He tells her he likes her company, that she's different from the other women. He takes her out to upscale dinners, showers her with compliments, and even helps her with her studies. Over time, he convinces her that his intentions are genuine, making her believe that their interactions are more than just business. She would sometimes drive some of his cars here and there, and Thandi liked the whole experience with Mr. Mthembu. She would exchange sexual favors for money, gifts, and the soft life experience he would offer her. As time goes by, Mr. Mthembu started telling Thandi that he is starting to like her a lot, and started telling her that after some few months he would like to take Thandi as his second wife. The thought of being married to a multimillion to Thandi came as a blessing from God. Thinking about all the expensive cars she would be driving and the full-time soft lifestyle which came with it. All her friends from the village are going to worship her, she thought. She started making sure that she becomes the best in bed and showing off all the different sex styles to Mr. Mthembu, just to make sure he doesn't change his mind about marrying her. Mr. Mthembu is flattered and invites her to accompany him on a business trip to Cape Town, telling Thandi that he'll be hosting a gala for his company and wants her by his side as a companion for the event. He promises it will be an enjoyable experience, luxurious accommodations, a beautiful city, and a chance for her to unwind and enjoy herself. At this point, Thandi feels torn. But the allure of luxury and the promise of being treated special convinces her even more. Plus, Thandi has never been to Cape Town. When Thandi arrives in Cape Town, the glamour of it all takes her breath away. The stunning hotel, the private jets, the smooth-talking Mr. Mthembu, it all feels surreal. During the gala, she is treated like royalty. She's introduced to important people, shown off as Mr. Mthembu's special guest. And everything seems picture-perfect. The next day, he continues to charm her, making her feel more comfortable and secure in his company. He surprised her with a private boat cruise to unwind and relax after all the late night shifts she has been getting from work. He insists that it will be a serene and peaceful retreat, a place where they can escape from the pressures of life. For a moment, she feels as if she's just a young woman on a romantic getaway, something she never imagined she could afford. At the boat cruise, she was entertained by other two ladies who were there with their blessers. The blessers were Mr. Mthembu's business associates. The boat cruise was a private tour between Mr. Mthembu's business associates, their slay queens, and Mr. Mthembu and Thandi. It was nice at the boat as they sipped wine and champagne. The buffet was on its best with all the seafood platters and sushi. It is nice being Mr. Mthembu's girl, Thandi thought to herself. On her second glass of wine, Thandi started feeling a bit dizzy and she couldn't see properly. Unknowingly to her, that what was happening to her was also happening to the other two ladies as well. She tried to balance herself with Mr. Mthembu, who was just sitting there looking at her and not bothered by the situation. Thandi's heart races as she realizes the full scope of what's happening. The private boat is not just a luxurious getaway. It's a private vessel that sails under the radar with no one to answer to. She's been lured into a situation where her safety no longer matters. She is now a prisoner on a ship, miles from shore, with no immediate help. Mr. Mthembu reappears, calm and collected, as if the situation was always meant to happen this way. He tells her that there is no turning back. She's part of the business now, a commodity that can be used for the high-end clients who want something more exclusive. He informs her that she'll be taken to a private estate in the Eastern Cape, where she'll be held until arrangements are made with buyers for her. Thandi's mind races with fear, and the gravity of the situation hits her. She had thought she could handle men like Mr. Mthembu, but this was far worse than anything she had imagined. She is no longer an independent person. She is a product being trafficked. Hearing that, she felt more dizzy and fainted. From there, Thandi, together with the other two girls, are then taken to an isolated part of the Eastern Cape and locked in a room with several other women. They are given sparse food and told nothing but vague instructions about their fate. It is only days later that she learns the true horror of what's happening. She, along with other women, are being sold to a hidden underground prostitution operation overseas. Different men used to come and go the whole day. This time they were not being nice. They would command them to do anything they wanted. And when they didn't comply, they would be punished severely. Sometimes they would get booked for the whole night at strange places. And if they did not perform according to what they have been trained, they would severely punish, torture, and beat them up. As time went by, Thandi got used to the whole situation and accepted the whole mess that she has put herself into. She was just 18 years when she got trafficked. And when she reached 25 years of age, they told her she has gotten old and no longer suitable for that kind of job. Thandi, together with the other women who were now over 25, were taken to a certain glass factory for a forced labor. That factory has been operating like that for years, by buying slaves and making them work there the rest of their lives. The glassware factory is nothing like she imagined. It's a vast, cold space filled with high-powered machines, glass ovens, and a constant haze of heat and dust. The work is back-breaking and dangerous. Thandi is tasked with assembling glass products, plates, cups, and bowls by hand. She's trained to work with molten glass, a substance that burns at extreme temperatures. The conditions are appalling. There's little ventilation, barely any safety gear, and workers are punished if they make even the smallest mistake. Each day blends into the next. The factory runs on a 12-hour shift schedule, with workers given only brief breaks. They are fed only basic, nutritional food, barely enough to sustain them for the grueling hours. There is no possibility for rest or recovery, as the factory demands constant production. Thandi is no longer the ambitious young woman who once dreamed of a better life. The years in the factory chip away at her spirit. The long hours, the grueling physical labor, and the constant threats from the overseers wear her down. The factory's owners, a shadowy network of global traffickers, operate with the understanding that the workers, often stolen from their homes or manipulated, are disposable commodities. If one worker collapses or refuses to comply, they are simply replaced. After killing them, they would cremate them and scatter their ashes all over the sea. Over the next few years, Thandi's life becomes a repetitive cycle of endless labor. Her physical appearance changes. She becomes thinner, weaker, and gaunt from the relentless demands. The factory workers are kept in constant fear, with no idea of what is happening beyond the factory gates. The glassware they produce is shipped worldwide, sold to stores and corporations, while their labor remains hidden. A dark undercurrent in the global supply chain. Thandi and the other workers are never allowed to communicate with the outside world. The traffickers watch them at all times, ensuring that no one can send a message or request for help. Even the slightest sign of rebellion is punished severely, often resulting in physical or sexual abuse and prolonged periods of solitary confinement. As the years pass, Thandi's memories of her life before the factory grow more distant. The faces of her family and friends fade from her mind, replaced by the unrelenting pressure of survival. There are moments, fleeting, hazy moments, when she wonders whether it is even possible to escape. But those thoughts are quickly silenced by the harsh reality of her situation. Thandi is one of many, but she's also an individual. She watches as the women around her age and lose their will to resist, their faces hollowed out by years of abuse. It becomes a collective existence where the only hope is survival. They form quiet, secret alliances, sharing stories of escape or rebellion in whispers, though none of them have any illusions about the risks of trying to run. It's been over 30 years since Thandi was taken from Pretoria. She's no longer a young woman, but an older, hardened soul who has known only pain and hardship. Her body bears the scars of the factory's labor, burn marks from handling the molten glass, calluses from hours of repetitive work, and the mental exhaustion that comes with a life spent in servitude. But in a moment of unexpected luck, a small crack in the system appears. A factory inspection crew from an international organization arrives, unannounced, checking the facility for compliance with international labor laws. They are looking for signs of forced labor and exploitation. For the first time in decades, Thandi sees a glimmer of hope. She, along with a handful of other workers, seizes the opportunity. The inspection crew's presence provides enough of a distraction for them to attempt an escape. Though the odds are slim, the women try their best to communicate with the inspectors, using the brief window of time to signal that they are slaves, trapped in forced labor. Thandi's escape attempt is risky, but it sparks a chain of events. The international organization intervenes, uncovering the true scale of the trafficking operation. and exposing the underground factory for what it is, a key part of a global network that has been profiting off the labor of thousands of exploited individuals. With the help of human rights groups, authorities from multiple countries conduct raids, shutting down the factory and arresting the perpetrators. The workers are liberated, but the scars of their trauma run deep. Thandi, now at the age of 48, is one of the fortunate few who survive the ordeal and begin the long process of recovery. However, the emotional and physical toll of 30 years in captivity is a weight she will carry for the rest of her life. Thandi's story becomes one of many that shine a light on the horrors of human trafficking and forced labor, as well as the unseen workers who create the products we take for granted. It serves as a warning about the dark underbelly of the global economy, where exploitation hides behind facades of luxury and convenience. For Thandi, her journey is far from over. She is slowly reintegrated into society, though she struggles to adjust to a world she no longer recognizes. The trauma of her years in captivity remains with her, but she becomes an advocate, sharing her story with the world. She speaks out to raise awareness about trafficking, the dangers of exploitation, and the importance of protecting vulnerable individuals from falling into such traps. Although after the rescue she did go to that club where everything started, she found that the club was long gone and it was now a call center building. According to the paperwork of the mall, the club left 3 years after her kidnapping. And Thandi knew right there that the club was never an entertainment industry, but one of their human trafficking rings which was occupied by criminals like Mr. Mthembu and Mr. Smith, who would pretend like they are from overseas or pose as businessmen. They were actually employees, and the lifestyles they were living were sponsored and staged. Okay. That's all from me today. If you find this story as an awareness or educational, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next story.